And I will let those just joining the recording know that we might be using a block today. So you might want to have a block nearby. And we will get started lying down. So let's go make our way over to our mats. Begin lying down. It can be nice to have your mat kind of, horizontal rather than vertical, but either way will work. And go ahead and make your way down onto your mat, lying down. If you want to put something under your head, you can. And as you begin, let's have our feet on the floor. So we feel that connection of our feet to the ground. And you can just feel the weight of your body settling into the floor. So let's bring our awareness now to the feeling of our body. Lying down, feel how the body relaxes. The floor is supporting you. Just notice that feeling, the feeling of your body right now as you're lying back. And as you're lying back, bring your awareness to the roof of your mouth, your soft palate, and see if you can invite the roof of your mouth to soften and broaden. Imagine the roof of your mouth broadening out towards your molars, towards the back of your head. The roof of your mouth just softening and broadening. And then begin to notice the feeling of your breathing. Feel the breath as it flows in, and feel the breath as it flows out. Let your in-breath be full and deep and expansive. And let your out-breath be a releasing and a letting go, an emptying out. And just spend a few moments just bringing your full awareness to breathing. What does it feel like to breathe? So we begin by paying attention to how we feel. We're connecting with the feeling of our physical body. And when we work with our breath, it can have an impact on our mental, emotional state. So as we breathe deeply and slow down the breath and let the breath empty out, we might find that to be rather calming. But as you're breathing deeply now, I want you to check in and notice how you're feeling. And acknowledge how you're feeling. And imagine you were sharing the way that you're feeling with a best friend, like telling them how you're doing, how you're feeling today, now. And imagine that that's your kindest, sweetest best friend and how they would respond with kindness, with empathy, and offer that to yourself. Hold yourself in a loving way with kindness and empathy for how you're feeling this morning. And see if you can breathe in that kindness and compassion. Just breathe in love for yourself. And as you breathe out, just let go of any heaviness or sadness or, any emotion maybe that's kind of weighing you down. So we can just breathe in love and kindness. And as we breathe out, maybe there's something we're going to kind of just release, let go of. So as we practice this morning, we're going to really try to pay attention to what we're feeling so that as we move, we're offering ourselves the right type of movement for how we're feeling this morning. And as we practice, we can continue to breathe in love and kindness for ourselves. Because this practice is just for you, for this time, for this morning. You've made this time. And now we're going to take care of ourselves. We're going to try to nurture ourselves physically and emotionally. So maybe take one more breath here. In and out. And then if your eyes were closed, you can open your eyes. You can just have your arms at your side. I want you to just take one foot off the floor and bring your knee up. And then put that foot back down. And take your other foot off the floor and bring your knee up. And then put that foot back down. And then take both feet off the floor and bring your knees up. And then bring your feet back down. So you might notice as your feet go down that your low belly fires. So do that again. Take both feet off the floor, bring your knees up, and then lower your feet back down. And we'll do that again. So you might also notice that as your feet go down, your back might want to arch a little bit. But if your belly fires, it'll support your low back. So we're just bringing the knees up and then let's just bring the big toes to the floor. So you're just kind of lightly tapping your toes. As the feet go down, just tap your toe and bring your knees up. And then just one more time like that, just kind of waking up the low belly. And then we'll release our feet down to the floor. Let's lift our heads up now and clasp our hands beneath our head, letting the weight of the head rest back into the hands. We'll take a breath in. As we exhale, start to knit your ribs a little down into your belly and curl up head, neck, and shoulders. Kind of look beyond your knees. And then inhale and release back. And exhale and curl up, knitting the ribs, looking forward, and then inhaling back. This time, exhale and curl up, and then reach your arms forward. So maybe you come up a little bit higher, and then you can go back, supporting your head, breathing in. And again, curling up, reaching your arms forward, and then releasing back. All right, so we're going to curl up this time. Let's do the same thing with the feet. We're going to bring the knees up, and maybe you can even curl your hips up a bit, and then release back and tap your toes. So exhale and curl up, maybe lift your hips a little, and then inhale, release back, tap your toes. So just combining those two movements a few times here. Moving with your breath. And then this time as you curl up, reach your arms, kind of reach towards your ankles, right? So now I want you to extend one leg out and reach towards the opposite ankle. And then extend the other leg out and reach towards the opposite ankle. So you're just reaching towards an ankle. Yeah, reach. And reach, and reach, and reach. Let's just do a few more of these. Reaching and reaching. Kind of bringing the shoulder across, kind of turning on the obliques a little bit. All right. Go ahead and release your head, release your feet, and let's roll to the side. We're just gonna lie on our side. You can let your head rest on your bottom arm, or you could slide a pillow or a blanket under there or something. And we're gonna bend the knees so that they're pointing towards the device, kind of a right angle to your body. And if your knees are stacked, then your hips will be stacked. So stack one knee on top of the other. And then take that top leg and extend it out straight. So it's lined up with your body. And you can flex the foot. And we're going to circle that leg around. We're going to make circles with that leg. So how does this feel to circle your leg around? You can make little circles. You can make them a little bigger. We're kind of waking up the muscles of the hip here with this circular movement. We're trying to keep the hips steady. So we're not rolling the hips forward or backward. We're keeping the one hip stacked right on top of the other and just moving the leg. Let's change the direction of the circle. Circle it the other way. Circle that leg around. Yeah, again, your hip might want to roll back. Try to keep this top hip stacked right on top of the lower hip so there's no movement in the hips. We'll circle in this direction one or two more times here. And then we can just relax that leg on the other leg. Let's push ourselves up, swing our legs around to the other side. So you can still be seeing your device here. So one knee stacked on top of the other. So your hips level with each other. And then that top leg comes up and we'll extend that leg out. We can flex that foot. And let's begin to make little circles here. You could start with a little circle. You can make the circle a little bigger. Kind of see how big of a circle you feel like making this morning and how that feels in your body. And can you make whatever size circle without your hips rolling forward or back? Keeping the hips nice and solid, not moving. So we'll circle in this direction one or two more times. And then we're going to change direction on that circle. Yeah. Just waking up the leg, waking up the muscles of the hip here. We'll circle in this direction a few more times. Paying attention to how this feels. And anytime you want to check in and offer yourself a little love and kindness, it's always a nice thing to practice. All right, let's take that circling leg and rest it on the bottom leg. And we'll make our way around to all fours. So come around to all fours with your wrist right beneath your shoulders, your knees beneath your hips. Take a moment and just move around a little bit. Move your hips a little, move your shoulders a little, move your head a little. You might want to arch your back into cow pose. You might want to round into cat pose. Just moving in any way that feels good here. And then eventually just making your way onto a nice square all fours position. Could we curl the toes under and lift the knees a little bit off the floor? So we're in a bit of a hover here. A little more weight on the arms and hands. We could just hold this hover position, or we could try from here lifting a hand up and lifting another hand up. So just kind of alternating, one hand coming up and the other hand coming down. We could just do this with one hand and the other hand, or we could lift one hand and the opposite foot, kind of as if we were crawling a little bit. Just lift a hand and the opposite foot. Just a little coordination work here, and a little bit of weight-bearing action for the shoulders, waking up the core a little bit here. So you might just be hovering, you might just be doing the hands. You could just be lifting one foot at a time or doing the two together. Let's do this one more time. And then we'll come back to knees. Let's go ahead and sit back into child's pose now. Take your way back, sit back on your heels. You could have your arms out in front. You could let your head rest on your bent arms, or you could bring your arms to your side. And just take a couple of moments here to check in. Notice how you're feeling. And our theme for this morning is just breathing in kindness for ourselves. Love, compassion, kindness. Great. All right, let's come back to all fours now. And when we're on all fours, we usually have our knees right under our hips. I want you to take one knee kind of 6 or 7 inches back. Take the other knee 6 or 7 inches back, and then take your hips back over your knees. So now your arms are more out in front of you. Your hands and your arms are about as wide as your shoulders. Can you lower onto your forearms and try to keep your elbows in line with your wrists and your shoulders? Your elbows might want to splay out. Let's see if you can pull them in to line up with your wrists and your shoulders. And then we're going to push to straighten the arms. So the hips stay back, we lower onto the forearms, and then we straighten the arms. We'll lower down, and then we'll straighten. So for some people, this is easy. And for some people who have some shoulder restriction, this is really challenging to bring the elbows in line with the wrists and the shoulders. But we're just working to move in that direction if that's challenging. And we start to create some work in the muscles in the back of the shoulder here. So let's do this a couple more times, straightening the arms and coming onto the forearms. And then the next time you're down on the forearms, could you take your hips back a little bit more? They can stay up in the air, and then lower your forehead down. If that's too much for your shoulders, you can widen your arms so that it feels all right. So do it. Have your arms in a position that feels fine, that's not painful. But this can be a nice stretch for the upper back, for the shoulders. And just breathe in and out here. Let the breath empty out. And then lift your head up, bring your weight forward and lower your chest into the floor. And then just push back up to knees and take your hips way back. Let's do that a few times. We're gonna come down and then push back up. If you're on a wood floor and this is bothering your knees, you can cushion your knees with a blanket or something. So we're just gonna do a few push-ups here. Let me get the shoulders working as we lower down, and the triceps a little bit because the hands are close to the chest here. The arms are wide, like a typical push-up. They're closer to the body. So just a couple more like this, lowering down and pushing up. And last one here. Lower yourself down and push yourself back. All right. You might want to bring your knees in a little closer now. We're going to transition to downward facing dog. So curl your toes under, take your hips way up and back. As you make your way into down dog here, really feel your hands pressing firmly into the mat. Feel your thumbs, your fingers, your knuckles. As you take your hips up and back, you can have a little bend in your knees. Just let your head release and dangle. Feel the weight of your head. Kind of move it around. Release the neck, the base of the skull. We can bend a knee and press a heel down, and bend that knee and press the other heel down. Just alternate here, stretching out through your lower leg, calf and ankle. And then let's go ahead and bend both knees a bit, draw the hips way up and back, big breath in, and nice big, do that again, big breath in, and a full releasing the breath out. Let's walk our hands back towards our feet, dropping our heels down, ending up folded over. Just let your arms dangle here, let your head dangle. Feel your feet nice and planted here. Take a breath into your upper back. As the breath empties, have soft knees and draw your belly in and roll yourself up now. Just take your time to roll up, to unfurl, to stack your spine. And then eventually let your head come up, broaden your shoulders a bit here. And then let's turn and face our device. So we're coming to a little wider stance here. Heels a little wider than hips, toes angled outward. And we're gonna do sumo pose. So we're gonna start to bend the knees. And as the knees bend forward out in the direction of your toes, we're gonna let the hips go back. So the knees go forward and the hips go back. Knees are bending, ankles are bending, and we're kind of sticking the butt back here. So we're not in an upright squat, but we're in a kind of a leaning forward squat. So let's just make our way back up again and come back into that sumo squat here. Hips back, knees forward. Good. All right, from here, let's lift the right heel up real high and lower it slowly for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Let's lift the other heel up real high and slowly lower. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Can we lift both heels up real high and slowly lower? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Good job. Let's push down to straighten up. And then we'll come back into that squat, hips back, knees forward. This time we're going to lift the heels just slightly. So the heels are almost grazing the mat, but they're slightly lifted. And with that little bit of lift in the heels, we'll straighten the legs. And then we can put our heels back down. Let's do that again. Hips back, knees forward. We'll lift the heels just a teeny bit. And with that slight heel raise, we'll straighten the legs. Maybe noticing some work now in the pelvic floor. One more time like that. Hips back, knees forward. Lift the heels just barely. And with that little bit of heel raise, straighten your legs up. Great. All right. Let's bring our feet together. We're going to turn and go to stand at the front of our mat. So as you make your way here, let's root down through the feet to stand tall. We'll take our arms out wide and see if you can broaden. Broaden across your collarbones, broaden the space between your shoulder blades. And then as we root down, let's reach the arms up and feel the ribs and shoulders sliding up. As we stretch and lengthen up toward the ceiling, we'll take a breath. And then let's swan dive forward, softening the knees as we fold over. We'll bring our hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Pressing down into the hands to take the hips way up and back. We'll breathe in. And exhaling, let's lower to straight arm plank. Pushing the floor away, pressing back through the heels, lengthening through the crown. Knowing that when we're here, we always have the option to drop the knees down if that's better for us. So as we're holding here, can you put a little bend in your elbows? Just a little bend, elbows pointing back towards your toes. And when you did that, did your hips sink? So could you lift your hips just a half an inch higher? And take a breath. And then we're going to lower to the floor. You might drop to your knees and then lower all the way down onto belly. So we'll slide the heels of the hands back a bit, letting the chest sink down. Maybe let your nose touch the mat and then just hover your chin and nose. So you're looking straight down, back of your neck is long. So the crown of your head can extend forward. Let's slide our shoulder blades a little bit up towards our ears and slide the shoulder blades a little bit down toward the heels. And then feel the shoulder blades landing right in their sweet spot. From right between the shoulder blades, we'll begin to lift the chest up. And as you're lifting the chest up, kind of pull your sternum forward as the heel of your hands press back. Come into baby cobra so that you could lift your hands up off the floor. We could lift our elbows up toward the ceiling and hug them in a bit, waking up the muscles in the upper back here. Then let's release the hands and release the chest down. Starting the same way, we'll inhale up to that baby cobra. And then if we like, we could stay here or we could come up a bit higher. Think about pulling your sternum forward, lengthening all through the spine, and then lowering back down. Nice, let's push up to knees, curl the toes under and lift the knees, and lift the hips up and back to downward facing dog. We'll breathe in and out here. And let's look a little forward. We'll walk our feet up, plant our feet beneath us. And let's just sweep the arms out. Inhale and rise up, reach up. And exhale, arms down at our side. And again, grounding down. Let's inhale and reach the arms out and up. Exhale and swan dive forward. Bring your hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Exhale to straight arm plank. Take a breath here. Exhale, a little bend in the elbows or a little bigger bend in the elbows, whatever's best for you. Take another breath here. Exhale and lower all the way down, prone mountain. Let's inhale up to baby cobra or cobra. And exhale back down. And make your way up and back to downward facing dog. Nice. Breathe in and out here. And then I'd like you to lower down onto your knees. So we're going to stand up onto our knees now. We're going to be putting all the weight on one knee. So if you're not on a cushy surface, you might want to kneel on a blanket now or something to cushion your knee. So let's take one foot out in front and have this foot and the knee hip distance apart. So you're not on a balance beam. You're as wide as your hips. And this front foot, the heel is kind of under the knee, or it could be a little forward of under the knee. And so I want you to think about putting some weight in the back knee, kind of pushing the back knee and the back shin kind of down. And that downward action is going to engage the thigh muscle a little bit. And then we're going to have a more effective way to stretch into that thigh muscle and into the front of the hip. So as you're pushing that knee and shin down, start to move the front knee forward. And just kind of explore how far you want to go. Some of us might not want a big stretch here. Some of us might want a big stretch here. So just kind of see how far you want to go and then push back. Sometimes this can affect the low back. So you might want to put a little engagement in the low belly here to support the low back as you bring the weight forward and as you push back. So this back knee and shin are kind of pushing down as the front knee bends forward. And then we're going to push back. We're going to push the back knee and shin down as we bring the weight forward. Let's stay here this time. So however far you've gone, you still have some weight in the back knee. Take that arm that's the same as the back leg and sweep it up in the air. So the back knee presses down as that arm reaches up. And then let's bring the other arm up and take a big breath in as we stretch up. And then we'll exhale, leaning forward, bringing our hands to the floor. So again, some of us might want to drop really deep into this stretch. Some of us, that might be a bit much. You might want to come back to hands here. If you want a deep stretch for your thigh muscle, you could lift the back leg up. And if you want an even bigger stretch, you might reach back for that foot. Press the foot into your hand for a big stretch into your quad. The opposite arm could reach forward. And we'll take a breath here. And then we can let that go. Let's push the weight back and change legs now. So the other leg is going to step out in front. Again, your foot, your knee, hip distance apart. The heel under the knee or maybe a little bit forward. So now the back leg, push the knee and shin down a bit. It kind of straightens you up sometimes a bit. And then hands can be on this front knee as we let that knee move forward. Maybe first time a little stretch. How does that feel? And then push back. And then maybe go a little deeper, or maybe not. Maybe, you know, everybody's really different. We're all so different. We don't look alike, right? Our bodies are very different, and they don't move the same way. And even from day to day, some days you're ready for a deeper stretch than others. So, how does this feel? And what feels right for you today? So, the next time we bring the knee forward, we're going to stay there. We're still putting a little weight in the back knee and shin. And then the same arm as the back leg, we're going to sweep that arm up. So the back knee is pressing down as the arm reaches up. And then we'll take the other arm and reach it up as well. Big breath here as we stretch up. And then we're going to lean forward, exhale, bring the hands down. And we might just be here, or you might want to go back to our hands on our knees. Or if you want a really deep stretch, you can let the hips sink forward. You might lift the back foot off the floor, and you might even reach back for that foot. Press the foot into your hand, and you might reach the other arm up. We'll take a breath here. And then we can release that. All right, let's push the weight back. So I want us to just bring that front foot in. We're going to see if we can curl the back toes under and press up into a lunge, bringing hands to hips. So you might need to adjust your distance here. So can we push the front foot down and straighten the front leg? And exhale and bend the front knee. So ideally the back heel is lifted here. If you need to have the heel down, you can put it down. But if you can have the back heel lifted, pointing straight back, then we can square our hips to this front short line of our mat and work into that back thigh, that back hip a little more effectively here. So one more time, we're going to bend the front knee and straighten it. This time, let's bend the front knee, lean forward, bring your hands to heart. Can you just step your back foot in, end up sitting kind of in a low chair, and then step the other foot back into that lunge? Yeah, back heel is up. Now we'll bring our hands to our hips. Let's straighten the front leg and straighten up a bit, and then bend the front knee. And straighten it, and bend it, and straighten it, and just bend it again. Nice job. All right, we're going to lean forward. We're going to bring our hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Nice job. Breathe in and out here. Let's lower to straight arm plank. Take a breath here. Maybe a little bend in the elbows. Maybe your knees come down here. Try not to let your hips drop. Lift them a half an inch. Take another breath. Exhale and lower all the way down. Great. Let's come up onto our forearms now. We'll get our elbows right beneath our shoulders. Measure fingertip to elbow, elbow to fingertip. And then we're going to slice down with the forearms to lift the chest. Let's curl the toes under. And we're going to lift our hips up. So you could be here on your knees and your forearms, or you could lift your knees. And we're going to push the forearms down. So we're working the back of the shoulder. We're going to keep those hips lifted. Like think again about maybe lifting your hips a half an inch higher as we hold this forearm plank. Now we could just be holding here statically. You could be dropping one knee down at a time for a little break. You could be tapping a toe to the outside of your mat and bringing it back, tapping it to the outside of the mat. You could be on your knees. You could be taking a break if you need one. But let's hold this for a little bit longer, whatever we're doing. Try not to let those hips sink down. Keep them lifted. And let's hold for 4 more counts, 3 more counts, 2 more counts. Nice work. We'll lower ourselves down. As we come down, take your elbows wide and let your head rest on your hands. Come onto the tops of your feet. Let everything relax and take a deep breath here. Great. All right. I'd like you now to bend one knee so your foot faces the ceiling. And then press the front of that hip down to lift the leg up, like you're serving a platter on your foot. So you're going to press that foot up, and you might notice how your hamstring engages to do that action. Now I want you to start to extend that leg back, 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 back. And can you feel how you're holding that extended leg up from the strength of that hamstring muscle? Take a breath and then relax that leg down. Let's do that with the other leg. Bend the knee so your foot faces the ceiling, your foot is flexed, and then press the front of that hip down to lift that foot up, like you're serving something up with that foot. Can you feel the hamstring firing? And then start to extend that leg back, 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 until you're holding that leg up with those strong hamstring muscles. And then relax that leg down. All right, let's now hover our head and bring our arms to our side, palms up. And we're going to press the hips down and lift both legs up. Can you feel the hamstrings helping you do that here? And then reaching back through the fingertips, inhale and lift your chest up to that baby cobra position. So we're working the whole back chain of the body here. Could you lift your legs a little bit higher? Could you lift your chest a little bit higher? Could you reach back more through your fingertips as you take a breath? Nice. And then lower down. Good work. Bring hands next to chest. Let's push back to knees. Take the hips all the way back. Sit all the way back into child's pose. And take a moment here. Check in. Offer yourself some love. Connect with your breath. Let your breath empty out. With your next breath in, you can lift your head up. We'll reach our arms out again and make our way to downward facing dog. Let's breathe in and out here. And again, let's walk our hands back towards our feet, lowering the heels, folded over bent knees, feet hip distance apart. I'd like us to drop our hips down and sweep the arms forward. So we're sitting back in a low chair. Take the arm closest to your device, sweep it down and back and behind you. Try to keep your knees parallel as you open into a twist. Take a breath here. Exhale, sweep that arm down and forward. Take the other arm, sweep it down and behind you. Keep your knees parallel as you open to a twist. Take a breath. Sweep that arm down and forward. Staying low in your chair, bring your arms up alongside your ears. Take a breath in and out here. And then push into your feet and legs to inhale and rise up and reach up. And then exhale, arms down at your side. Nice job. All right, let's turn onto the long line of our mat now and take a wide stride. And we'll turn the right foot in. We'll turn the left foot out. Hands can go to hips here. Let's keep this back foot pressing down as we bend the front knee. Bending this knee over the foot here. And then push this front foot down to straighten. So back foot presses down as the knee bends, front foot presses down as we straighten. And we're just going to bend and straighten and bend and straighten. All right, let's bend this front knee and keep it bent. And then feel this line of your spine. Draw the energy down to your center. And from here, from your hips, tip over, letting this bottom arm rest on this bottom leg. Take your other arm forward and then open it up toward the ceiling. Feel space from your bottom shoulder to your top shoulder, reaching out through that arm. Take a breath here. In and out. Now take this bottom hand onto your shin. And could we start to straighten that front leg a bit? It might get all the way straight. It might get a little bit straight. It's whatever's right for you. This bottom hand could be pressing on the bottom shin, or we could open the palm forward. Can you broaden out from your center, reaching up, reaching down, grounding down through both feet? Your gaze can be forward. You might want to look up. You might want to rotate your gaze to look down to release the neck. Let's breathe in and out here. And then we'll push down into the front foot to rise up. Great. We're going to turn the feet forward, and then we'll turn the left foot in and the right foot out. Hands go to hips. Press this back foot down to bend your front knee. Press the front foot down to straighten. Let's just bend and straighten and bend and straighten. Let's bend the front knee and we'll keep it bent. And rather than tipping over from the head, let's tip over from our center and bring this forearm on this front leg. And we'll take our other arm forward and open it up. Yeah. Space from bottom shoulder to top shoulder, reaching up. Breathe in and out here. And then take this bottom arm, place your hand on your shin, and start to try to straighten that front leg to whatever degree is available to you. And then you can open the palm or you can keep your hand on your shin, either way. But try to create space from the middle of your chest, radiating out to your fingertips. Breathe in and out. You can be looking forward or looking down. And then push into your legs to rise up. Nice work. Turn your feet forward. And we could walk our feet together or we could just jump our feet together. Great. All right. This is where we're going to try working with a block. You could also use a chair to make it a little more accessible. You might just use a chair. It's just a way to bring the floor a little closer. So standing at one end of your mat, I want you to take a big step back with the leg that's further from your device. All right, so the leg closer to the device is in front, the leg further from your device is behind you. Big stance here. And then I want you to start to hinge forward. Put the block in the hand of the back leg. So we're going to hinge forward so that you're moving from your hip, and then your hand, that's the same as your back leg, is going to come down on the block. So your feet are hip distance apart, the back foot is angling forward, and if you can have the back heel down, and we want to have that back heel down. So let's just come back up again. You can leave the block there and bring yourself upright. Hands on hips. Could you lift your heart a little bit as you breathe in? And then again, start to hinge forward. So moving from the hip rather than bending at the waist or bending at the neck, moving toward a flat back here. Yeah. And then bring that hand on the block. Now you might need to bend your knee a little bit to be here, which is fine. But let's see if we can pull that front leg hip back a little bit. Nice. All right, so you got your hand on your block. The block could be high or low. Most of us, if we brought our hand to the floor, we would round our back. But if you can hinge forward and have your hand on the floor, you're welcome to do that. All right, take this other arm out towards your device, out straight, parallel to the floor. And as the hand presses down into the block, can you rotate that other arm up toward the ceiling? Coming into a revolved triangle here. Press down to reach up, broaden from the center of your chest and back. Breathe in and out, draw that front hip back a bit if you can. And then let that arm come back down. So now your chest is facing the floor. Let's bring our hands to hips, push into the front leg, and rise up. Great. All right, we're just going to step the back foot in. Let's go to the other side of our mat. We'll do the same thing. So we're going to stand at the front of the mat and step back with the foot that's further away from your device. And then we're going to lean over and place the block down with that hand that's the same as the back leg, right? So we have our feet far apart. The back heel is down, that back foot is angling towards the front part of the mat, and your feet are hip distance apart. So leave the block there, straighten yourself up. Kind of orient yourself towards the short line of your mat, and as you ground down through your feet, just inhale and lift your heart up. Maybe even draw your elbows back a bit. Take a breath here. And then start to hinge forward toward a flat back. And as you come to this flat back, if you need to soften or bend your front knee, that's fine. Take your hand now and reach down for your block. And then this front hip, can you pull it back a bit? Yeah. Take that arm that's closer to your device out to the side. And then as you press down into the block or the floor, inhale and open up toward the ceiling. Can you pull that front hip back a little bit? Let's breathe in and out here. And then we'll let that arm come back down. We're just going to push into the legs to rise up. And we can just step that back foot in. All right, great. Let's make our way down to sitting now on the floor. If you want to sit on your block, you can. If you want to sit up on a blanket, you can. We're going to sit with our feet together in bound angle. So your feet are together. Your heels might be in close or they might be further out. You might like to hold your ankles, or you might like to have your hands behind you to help you sit up tall. If you feel like you're rolling back, sit up on a blanket or something. And let's try to push our feet in towards each other. Kind of put some action of pressing your feet into each other. And what you might find is that encourages your knees to lift a little bit, which is fine. Take a breath with your feet pushing in. And then let go of that pushing the feet together. And then now try to push your knees apart. So just see what happens if you focus on your knees moving outward, away from the center. And breathe in and out here. And then let go of that action. And then could we do both? Could we push the feet together as we're pushing the knees apart? So action in two different directions. Feet are pressing in, knees are pressing out. We're trying to sit up nice and tall. Let's take a deep breath in and out here. Good, and then just let that action fall away. Let's bring the legs forward and shake them out a little bit. All right, let's sit up on our block now. If you're not already there, turn your block sideways and come up and sit on your block. And if you can sit cross-legged, sit cross-legged. If that's not comfortable, your legs could be out straight. But as you sit on the block, if you kind of move a little bit side to side, you're going to feel your sitting bones. And so I want you from your sitting bones to think about sending roots down. Roots growing down from your sitting bones into that block. And when you do that, you might notice how that supports your spine to sit up nice and tall. Yeah, and I want you to be aware of this line of your spine because we're going to rotate around this central line. So let's bring fingertips behind and on the right arm, and then bring the left arm across. We're going to try and keep the navel facing forward. So the navel is going to want to spiral, but try to keep it forward. We'll take a breath in, and then try to spiral your ribs, your chest, your shoulders around. Spiraling around to the right. But as your upper body is spiraling around to the right, take that right hip bone and draw it back towards your midline. And then take a few deep breaths in and out here. Maybe breathing in love and kindness, and then letting go. Anything heavy, negative, something that's been hard or difficult or bothering you, just let that go with your out breath. You might blow it out, you might sigh it out or sigh it out. Take one more deep breath in and out. And then we can begin to release and unwind back around. Again, root your sitting bones down to straighten up and feel this line of your spine. Take your left hand behind your right arm across. Try to keep the navel from twisting, but take a breath in and twist your ribs, your chest, your shoulders, your head around that line of your spine. But bring that left hip back towards your midline. And then deep breaths here. And let that exhale be a full releasing and emptying out, letting go. Great chance to let something go that you've been carrying, that's been hard or difficult. Just see if you can release it with your out breath here. One more breath. And then releasing back around. Nice work. All right, let's come off of our block. We're going to make our way down to lying on our backs. And we're going to do one more thing and then transition to our final pose. So if you want to put on some socks or a layer to be warm enough, you can do so. We'll make our way down. And as you come down, let's just hug the knees in. A hug, maybe sway. What feels nice here? Just finishing up our practice here. You might want to draw your knees apart. You might want to wiggle or circle your ankles. You might want to stretch your legs up. Just take a final few moments to do something that feels nice for you. Kind of close out your practice. And then begin to transition to your final pose of relaxation. So that might mean that you turn off the lights, or you cover up with a blanket, or you slide a pillow under your head, or put something under your knees. So set yourself up so that you can be warm and comfortable as we transition to this final pose of rest and restoration. Finding your way to lying comfortably on your back, with your arms heavy at your side, with your feet heavy, your legs relaxing, dropping into the floor. You might want to close your eyes and begin to allow your body to soften and settle, to relax and release into the floor. Feeling how the legs rest heavy on the ground. Allowing the weight of your hips to settle into the floor. Inviting the belly to soften, the gut to unclench, to release. Letting the weight of the shoulders release back, the arms heavy, the palms soft. Feeling the space around the heart softening, opening. Letting the weight of the head rest heavily back, so the neck releases, relaxes. The jaw softens, the eyes relax. The forehead smooth. And as the body relaxes, let the mind come along, let it rest. Let it be. Allow yourself to rest here just as you are. Nothing to change or fix. Nothing to do or control or plan. Just allowing yourself to be as you are. Giving ourselves this time and space to let ourselves be is a gift of kindness. Notice how you're offering yourself kindness and love. Let yourself be filled with a feeling of love and kindness. Love and kindness washing into you, washing over you. Know that you are deserving of love. You are your own best friend. Feel yourself offering yourself the love that you need and deserve. Rest in this love. And you're welcome to continue lying back longer if you like. And if you're ready to transition, you might begin to open your eyes. You might bring your feet to the floor. Maybe gently roll to your side and take a few moments there to transition. When you're ready, you might make your way up to sitting. And it's nice to close out our practice with a little quiet reflections, maybe bringing hands to heart. This is always a wonderful time for gratitude practice. It's that time of year. What are we grateful for? We can think about all the things that we can't have with this time that we're in, but let's focus on the things we do have that we are grateful for. So grateful that we have this time together. Thank you all for being here this morning. And if you want to come back and say hello or goodbye or ask a question, make a comment, you're welcome to do so. And if you need to head off, that's fine too.